Hello everybody, welcome to the Comic Game Movie Show. My name is Deshaun and today I am here to give you my review of Fast 9. Now the Fast and Furious franchise has been a weird one. Started off as a blatant Point Break ripoff with the first Fast and the Furious movie. And ever since that first one, it kind of was in limbo. I'd say the first 3 movies were about racing. The first 3 Fast and Furious movies were about racing. That's what it was about. That's what Fast and Furious was about. And it quickly started, and after Fast, because even Fast 4 was about racing, because it was about some dude hosting some elaborate racing contest. But Fast 5 was when they decided to go in a different direction with it, where it was like they're international criminals, where they're international criminals, which was a step and kind of outside the possibility, which was a bit much, but considering the last movie, considering how they became criminals, it kind of made sense. They're like international criminals and thieves, you know. But it was like, okay, they're those guys. They do jobs, but they use cars and the know-how. And then ever since Fast 5, it just got more and more ridiculous. They go from being super thieves to super spies to international heroes to damn near, like I said, to damn near superheroes. They're fighting terrorists. They're fighting, they're fighting terrorists. They're ending world-ending plots. They're fighting off like it just got insane. And meanwhile they're just ramping it up how much shit they were doing and like the crazy stunts and the crazy things they were doing. And for a long time, and I started to lose interest. I started to lose interest in it about round 7. And I know a lot of people, feel differently because that's the movie where I believe where Paul Walker passed away before finishing it. That's the movie Paul Walker passed away, before. But for me, it was around 7 where I finally kind of went, okay, I'm not vibing with what you're doing here, because you guys are just going a little far with this. None of this stuff, some of the stuff you're doing doesn't make any logical sense. And understand this, things don't have to make sense in the context of the story itself. In the context of the world you built and the story you built, things make sense within that. But a movie, but to be able to go with the movie, you need a certain level of, what's the word I'm looking for? You need a certain level of, damn it, I'm forgetting the word I'm looking for here. You need I know it, it's on the tip of my tongue. You need a certain level of, suspension of disbelief. There you go. You need a certain level of suspension of disbelief. And movies push it. Many movies push it. I mean, you could probably say The Matrix push it. You could probably say a lot of the Marvel movie push it. You could say there's like some of the Mission Impossible movies push it. Some of the John Wick movies. Movies push it. But as long as you are enjoying the characters and you're enjoying the world and they don't push it enough that you go, that doesn't make any sense, I'm okay with it. But after 7, but 7 and 8, to me, were really pushing it and was really hard to really get through them. And not to mention, these stories are so predictable and not that well thought out. And it was just like, these characters are here for the stunts, for the spectacle, not for the characters themselves. And I think that's the difference between those other movies that do some of the more crazier stuff. Is you come here for these characters, you come here to see the story, you come here to see the plot, and it has these amazing, huge, larger-than-life spectacle sequences in them. Where these movies are the opposite. You come here for the spectacle, you come here for the stunts and whatnot, and the characters are just kind of a vehicle for you to see these things. I think that this movie is just, it's what those movies were, but even worse. Because while I thought 7 was decent. I thought that, 7 was the movie that made me go, okay, I'm a little bit wary with this. 8 was even more so. But, but this one just, it's the most unimaginative of all the movies. All the stunts and whatnot, while over the top and sometimes even entertaining, it's the least imaginative one. The best part of this movie by far is actually, as it turns out, the relationship between Dom and Dom and his brother Jacob. While I still don't believe them as brothers, just because I'm like, I don't know if that makes a lick of sense, because unless he has multiple wives, which, you know, they didn't mention multiple baby mama, unless he has multiple women who died, unless he has unless he's like a 2-time widower, they don't look anything alike, and it doesn't really even line up in my mind that they would even be brothers. But whatever, I'm over that. The actual story with those two is actually not only a bit touching, but makes a little bit of sense. You know, other than that part, makes a tiny bit of sense. It makes, like, it clearly, you know what's going to happen with the John Cena character. You know what's going to happen before you go into the movie. You know everything that's going to happen before you go into the movie. But the problem is, I went to the movie, I watched this movie with my friend Willie, and Willie's a fan of these franchises. He's on me all the time about taking it too seriously. But in my mind, I was like, okay, I'm going into this movie. I'm not going to take it too seriously. I was preparing myself to like the movie. Because I was like, you know what? I don't want to misjudge this movie before I even see it. So I was kind of preparing myself. And I was taking a step back. And as the movie went on, like there are just sequences in it where it's just so hard to believe it. At a certain point, like they did the old school traditional like bridge thing. You know, bridge is falling, they're going across it, the bridge comes down like this, they come up. The problem is, it didn't make a lick of sense because this is a fucking car. You know what I mean? It's not like you're running across. Like, they usually when they do that bridge, where the bridge is falling and you're running across it and it falls and the camera angle's like at the edge, it looks like you might have fallen, and then it pans over and he's holding on and he climbs up. That's how it usually goes. This is a fucking vehicle. For that thing to go like this, and for you guys to come up, that's impossible. But that's just like a minor thing. At a certain point in this movie, a character is surrounded, lit up with gunfire, hit with the bullets, and not die. And at first, I was looking at Willie, I was like, I'm willing to believe that. It looks like he had some body armor. Doesn't make a lick of sense. None of these dudes shot him in the head, considering there was dudes up top and dudes below, and he had to turn to shoot each. It's not like he had a device that like shot the guns out of their hands. He had to turn to each individual guy. He should have been dead. And it doesn't make a lick of sense. But I was like, okay, he has body armor. Just for it to be revealed later in the movie, he doesn't even know why he didn't get shot. He should have. There's bullet holes, and he's not. I thought he was gonna say, that's why I bring this body armor. But that's not what he said. There's a reveal in the trailer. This ain't a spoiler. Han showing up, and that explanation for how Han survived the explosion was about as throwaway as it gets. As it gets. This is the movie that attempts to fucking take the power from people who don't think these movies make any sense by every 5 minutes acknowledging that none of this shit makes sense. And while sometimes that works, it works, when you take the power, when you just take the shit out of things, be like, yeah, it doesn't make sense to us either. But when you do it over and over and over again, as you're still doing the thing that doesn't make any sense, it sounds less like you're having fun with yourself and more like you're trying to excuse yourself for doing this ridiculous thing. Like, it's okay that we're still doing this. It's like someone, I'm just trying to come up with a good analogy. It's like someone like having an eating habit, a bad one, and you just talk about like, man, it's crazy, I keep eating stuff, it's terrible, as you're fucking eating stuff. It's like, that doesn't count, it doesn't make it better, you're still doing it. And like I said, this movie was a bit, I didn't think it was rough. It was rough. Like there's one sequence in this movie that was really cool, and it was a fight sequence with, it was a hand-to-hand combat fight sequence, and that was cool. Some of the scenes with Dom just are ridiculous. Some of the things they survive, some of the leaps, some of the landings, some of the things Dom was doing. At a certain point, he picked a big-ass man with full body armor and a fucking, gun, and like a couple guns, grenades, picked him up like this and cracked him. Picked a couple other guys up and just threw them. At a certain point, he went head up with like 20 armed dudes, like 20 big ass dudes, and they couldn't really get him down. He grabs some big ass chains and pulled down a fucking like he's like Superman. It's insane. It's ridiculous. It's completely out of this world. There's so many sequences like that in this film. And the thing about it is, because the movie is so predictable, because the script and everything is so predictable, even what happens with John Cena you see it coming. And since I see it coming, when it slowly is revealed, when the reveal slowly happens, it's like, yeah, of course that happened. Nothing in this movie was like, wow, that was kind of cool. Oh man, and I don't need shock and awe, but when the other things aren't working, when the other things are distracting, at the very least, I would like a cool story. They didn't even go through with making him a true villain. Minor spoilers, but who gives a fuck? This movie is, I don't know. Because I can't say I was bored. So I'm at a crossroads with this movie. While I can't say I was bored watching it because I was just in awe of how crazy it was and how like that doesn't make a fucking lick of sense. So it didn't distract. So I wasn't bored. It was like some of the things that were done was just, and some of the stunts and whatnot were cool. That's like it was just like cool. Like that's how I felt. That's how I felt a lot of times in the movie. Cool. Like, it's not like, man, that was awesome. It's not like the scene in John Wick or scene in Mission Impossible or even scenes in previous movies where I was like, that's crazy, man. And maybe it's because I've gone numb because they just keep doing it the way they've done it with no tension. So, I don't know. And bringing back Han just hurts everything too because now I'm just like, does anybody actually die? Either way, I'd give this movie... I can't say that it's terrible because while it's some things that don't make a lick of sense and things that I'm not on board with, the predictable plot, the thin characterizations, characters are just who they've always been. There's not much added to them. There's not much added to the story. I did appreciate Dom and whatever his fake ass brother. I'm sorry, John Cena. I still don't believe that bullshit. But anyways. I mean, granted, I have no clue what the fuck Vin Diesel is. He's like Dominican or is he black? Like, I don't know. But either way, I still don't... Sorry, I looked off. My cousin came in here if you wonder what I looked at. But, I don't know, man. I'd give this movie a 6, I guess. If I'm being optimistic. Just because I wasn't bored. There are some stunts that are cool. That story actually sort of worked, honestly. Actually, didn't think it would, but it actually sort of kind of worked. That one fight sequence was awesome. It was actually really awesome. I love the way it looked. I love the way it went down. There are no real surprises. Not really. There's nothing that was set up. Not really. There are cameos that really... There are a couple cameos that are just literally there just so they can be in there. Like they try to give them purpose, but it's like, you could have figured that out. There's a lot of people you could have got that information from. They just wanted that character to show up in here. But I digress. It is what it is. I'd give this movie a 6 out of 10. Man, I don't want to know what the fuck the 10th movie is even going to look like. And they still have to sort of write around, the tragic passing of Paul Walker. They still have to kind of write around that. And they do that a lot. Like, they mention him, but then they just kind of write around it. Even the end shot is them kind of having to write around him not being there. And I don't know, man. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe it was a mistake to allow that character to go on because you can't just keep writing. You can't just keep writing around him not showing up. Because he would. Even in the movie, it was like, it doesn't really make a lick of sense. We both know that Paul Walker would have been in the movie and you would have been at home if anybody was at home, but okay, whatever. Anyways, thank you guys for watching the Comic Game Movie Show. Please remember to like, subscribe, and what did you think of Fast 9? Is this the best Fast and Furious movie you've ever seen? Is it a great movie? I'll give it this. I finished all my popcorn watching it, so clearly I wasn't completely bored. It's definitely a popcorn movie. I'll tell you that. I was done, dude. But anyways, thank you guys again. I'll see you on the next one.